Today we are exploring Easter Island, known to the local people as Rapa Nui. And we're going to see that there could very well have been two distinct civilizations living there. The Polynesians, who arrived maybe around 1000 AD, and then an older culture that may have had advanced forms of technology because the Polynesian people were basically Stone Age. Look at the incredible precision of joinery in this wall. This is called Vinapu and is located, of course, on the island. There's no mortar whatsoever involved in the construction. How is that possible by people who did not even know bronze and especially not steel? This is basalt stone. It's quite hard. So how could this have been shaped by the Polynesians? This is the first indicator that we're looking at an inheritance by the Polynesian people of something created long before their time using advanced technology of some form. So you see this wall is basically megalithic, and then there's rubble in the back and off to the side. This is volcanic tuff that was shaped by the Polynesian people. It's quite a soft material, but it erodes very rapidly because of its softness, whereas the basalt that we can see here is still quite largely intact. So here I am, and again, the head on the left side is badly eroded, and yet look at the wall. The wall is almost intact and is still in very good shape. Again, the precision of this work could not have been done by a Stone Age or even Bronze Age people. And what is this person having a goatee beard? Polynesians don't generally have facial hair. Now we're at Orongo, which is the largest lake and has totora reed in it, similar to the totora that we find on the coast of Peru and Lake Titicaca. And this is Polynesian construction. You can see that it's simply broken slabs of basalt stacked on top of one another. There's no precision whatsoever in this construction, and there is no indication that the Polynesian people advanced technically from their first arrival to the island up until their meeting with Europeans. Unfortunately, that meeting was very disastrous for them in terms of disease. And again, this is a Polynesian-style construction, just loosely stacked stones, one on top of the other, and crude or relatively crude Polynesian-style sculpture. But then we have the Quarry, which is located at Rano-Raraku, and this is where the giant moai are to be found. This was the main quarry on the island, and you can see several of these figures. There are in fact more than 900 of them, and they seem to be in two different styles. One with an aquiline nose like you saw in the last photo, and then here more of a flat nose shape, more typical of Polynesians. And what is up with this? What is this piece of stone? It looks like it was quite well shaped, and these holes are almost perfectly round. Again, the relatively rush and flat nose work you can see here. And here, again, in general, relatively flat noses, except the second on the left, which is more aquiline. So all of the temples on the island are called ahu. And here I am, and there you see one wearing a top knot. Most academics think that that's a form of hat, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And this is kind of rough Polynesian construction you can see here. Now these are not hats. This indicates that these ancient people had red hair. And you'll see that coming up because some of the island people to this very day still have red hair. Here we find a moai head which has been fitted into a relatively rough construction, and then these rather precise works with these somewhat drill hole shapes. Not perfectly round, but relatively. Hard to do if you're trying to hit basalt with basalt. And here again, a very tight-fitting join. And again, another one of the ahus. You can see the somewhat drill hole piece on here. Again, it's not very well done. We're not talking precision like in Egypt or Peru. And once again, the so-called hats, which are not hats at all, because this individual, for example, has reddish hair. Now, he may have European ancestry, that's true, but there are local stories that say that before the Polynesians arrived, there were other people living on the island. They were called the long ears, whereas the Polynesians were called the short ears. The concept of the long ear we also find on the, not the coast of Peru, but actually up in the highlands with the Inca culture, and there could very well be connections between the coast of South America, as in Peru, with Easter Island, because Easter Island would be the first stop if you wanted to travel deeper into the Pacific. And the Kon-Tiki II expedition were able to successfully sail from the coast of Peru to Easter Island in about 32 days, showing that it is possible using a relatively primitive craft made of balsa wood or maybe even totora reed. And it's quite possible that the totora on Easter Island was brought to the island from the coast of South America. Now here we have the carving of a sailing ship. Some people think that that was done by European sailors, but possibly not. And inside the quarry itself, here again we see a sculpture that may have a little goatee beard. And here are some unfinished moai. There were several that were never completed in the quarry proper. And there's another one with an aquiline nose. Now all of these 900 sculptures are buried more or less up to their necks, except one's like the small one, which is lying down, but they aren't simply heads. They are, in fact, full bodies. So since the majority of the body is underground, how was this done? This stone supposedly is not from the island itself, and they call that the center of the world. At Ahu Te Pito Kura, we find one of the largest of the moai that fell down, and these 7 are called the Navigators, located at Ahu Akivi, and they're the only ones that face the ocean. All the other ones face inland. So that's a curious difference. This is the famous Orongo language, and no one has been able to decipher it. It's strange that a Polynesian people would have that language, since no other Polynesian people have a hieroglyph language. Some think that actually Orongo came from the Indus Valley. That could be the source of the first civilization. And the moai originally had eyes, you can see, made out of coral and a red-colored stone. This is another example of the Orongo, which is very similar to script found in the Indus Valley. There are also stories that people with elongated heads used to live on Easter Island prior to the time of the Polynesian arrival. And this shows you the excavation of one of the moai by Thor Heyerdahl, showing that they are full bodies. So how is this possible? Robert Schoch, the geologist, believes that actually some of these sculptures could be 12,000 plus years old, and that the burial of them was simply silt building up over the course of 12,000 years. And here you can see that the so-called sailing ship was found buried underground. It's very curious. And more glyphs on the back here that have not been able to be deciphered as of yet. And also, once again, the totora reed is found both on Easter Island and the coast of Peru. On Easter Island, a little boat like that is called a pora, and on the coast of Peru, it's called the tora. Thank you for watching this slide presentation.